Thank you all. This looks like we've got everybody in attendance. Director Lynn will be joining us a little bit later. Um, I've got my fake gavel here. This meeting is called to order at 6:31 p.m. on 9/20. Thank you. On 9/25/2024, and a quorum is present. Thank you to everyone in attendance today. Welcome to everyone watching in the community. I want to thank you all for your time in being here today. First up, the agenda has been distributed in board book. Are there any questions or changes needed to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and call for a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Excellent. The ayes have, or is that right? Was that unanimous? I'm sure the ayes have it. Were there any nays? Okay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Sometimes it's hard to juggle the amount of people I can see on my screen, so bear with me. We're going to jump right into it today, folks. I'm really excited. We've got some fun stuff going on. We're going to be interviewing the candidates for the vacancy. But first, let's go ahead and jump into superintendent's report. And I'll welcome up Superintendent Owens.
All right. Thank you, Chair Slasky. I'll queue up the PowerPoint here and we'll be good to go. All right. Give me a thumb if you can see the screen appropriately. Great. Greetings, board members. It is my pleasure and privilege to share with you this update about happenings in our school district. As I mentioned during convocation, as well as my most recent report to the board this year, Centennial will prioritize student sense of belonging in supporting Roadmap 27 Goal 2, support every student's well-being and inclusion. One way we support this is through the use of responsive classroom strategies, particularly at the elementary and middle school level. As you know, we have invested heavily over the past couple of years in providing initial and advanced responsive classroom training to all kindergarten through 8th grade staff. One thing that I have observed in my 20 years or so in the field of education is that as an industry, we do a decent job of providing initial training and a more iffy job of getting new staff up to speed if they join after the initial push. So to address this, we will be providing core responsive classroom training specifically to all new kindergarten through 8th grade staff this year, beginning this Thursday with day 1. And as you might remember, that's a 4-day training. So days 2 through 4 are scheduled in October, November, and January, respectively. As a reminder, responsive classroom is a student-centered social and emotional learning approach to teaching and discipline. It is a set of research and evidence-based practices designed to create safe, joyful, and engaging classroom and school communities for both students and staff. The responsive classroom approach focuses on creating optimal learning conditions for students to develop academic, social, and emotional skills that are needed for success in and out of school, and for building positive school and classroom communities where students learn, behave, hope, and set achievement goals. And the last 2 paragraphs that I just recited there are from the responsive classroom site. Thank you to Director Wright for her organizational efforts on getting this established and going. Yesterday, Centennial administrators participated in our first round of walkthrough observations. As was mentioned last year, this is a newly established routine in which administrators work in teams of 2 to 3, observing classrooms throughout the district. An adjustment that we have made this year is that instead of having our principals observe classrooms throughout the district, their observation efforts will be focused in their own school this year, with district administrators rotating between sites monthly to collaborate with school administrators in their own school context. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to join Oliver Middle School Principal Jeb Hubbs for classroom walkthroughs. And to do so, we used a collectively developed observation tool that included look-fors connected with Roadmap 27 instructional priority areas. In an upcoming administrator collaboration meeting, we will debrief the findings to inform next steps in school improvement plan implementation at the site level and staff professional learning and feedback. In connection with Roadmap 27, yesterday was the first of several affinity group meetings that will be held this year for staff. One for staff of color and another for those who identify as LGBTQ2SIA+. The goals of these affinity spaces are to increase community connections, offer support, eat a meal or refreshments together, and to create a space where open and honest conversations can take place. Kudos to Director Wright, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Katsuda, and the participating staff in making these spaces happen. As a brief reminder, homecoming will be here before we know it and before the next board meeting. This year, it will be held on Friday, October 5th, starting with the annual homecoming parade prior to the varsity football game, as mentioned before, versus Hillsborough High School. Part of the reason that I mentioned homecoming is that last night, my wife Nicole and I had the opportunity of talking with Michael Losfetto, music teacher at Butler Creek, and also the orchestrator of the community band that was established as a byproduct of the Awesome Eagle Marching Band reunion for the Rose Festival parade last year. They were conducting a rehearsal at Centennial High School in advance of the upcoming performances at the Gresham Teddy Bear Parade this Saturday and the Homecoming Parade, which is next Friday. The band is a collaborative of the CHS, Oliver Middle School, and East Metro Community Music Association bands. The rehearsal also included an emerging color guard component, and for that reason, I asked Mr. Losfetto where you were, Vice Chair Shields. He wasn't sure. The reason I went to CHS was to watch a volleyball game, which had apparently been rescheduled to the night before due to a referee shortage. And I offer that to say that if you're thinking about attending a sporting event, I suggest checking with Executive Assistant Missy Grindle beforehand to ensure it's still happening the night that it was originally scheduled. And she can do some research and find out. Given the fact that we distributed a schedule to you a few weeks ago, I want to make sure we're providing you with accurate as well as up-to-date information. In a little over a month, the Oregon School Board Association, OSBA, fall regional meeting is scheduled, and this fall's meeting will include a legislative roadshow, which is an opportunity for board members to provide input that will shape OSBA's legislative agenda and to let them know how to best meet your needs. The fall regional meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 7th, and this year it accompanies the statewide annual OSBA conference. So if you're interested in attending either the dinner or the conference, please connect with Missy. This next slide will be a little bit meaty, so bear with me. Speaking of statewide professional organizations, this past week, I had the opportunity to attend the Coalition of School Administrators Regional Superintendents meeting, which included superintendents from Multnomah and Clackamas counties. At the meeting, we had the opportunity to learn about how the legislative priorities are shaping up, which you can see the initial thinking reflected here on the screen. The preliminary priorities include addressing unfunded mandates, increasing the arbitrary special education cap above 11%, fully funding the state's high-cost disability fund, funding early childhood special education at adequate levels, dedicated funds for K-12 facilities beyond what bond funds may or may not provide, depending on a community's ability to pass a bond, resources to support student mental and behavioral health, sustainable summer learning funding, fully funding the recently established Early Literacy Success Grant, increasing investments in multi-tiered systems of support to support attendance efforts, and continuing to invest in scholarships and efforts to increase educator workforce diversity and to support efforts around Grow Your Own. And I realize that is a lot, and what I just read to you was about an hour's worth there, and I just gave it to you in about 30 seconds. So I welcome any questions you have about this portion, and the board may also want to consider having Government Affairs Administrator Stacy Michelson join an upcoming work session to speak as to how she sees the upcoming legislative session shaping up. Changing gears here. A couple of weeks ago, on Thursday, September 12th, I attended the Johnson Creek Watershed Council open house, offering attendees the opportunity to learn more about the work that they do as a nonprofit organization promoting restoration and care of Johnson Creek through sound science and community involvement. Also attending were Vice Chair Shields and former board and current budget committee member Rod Betcher. Watershed Council Executive Director Daniel Newberry seemed particularly excited about the Centennial representation, given our partnership with the council with the restoration work they've been doing on Mitchell Creek, which runs across the district's Foster Road property. And I invite Vice Chair Shields to expand on what we learned that evening if you want to, not to put you on the spot.
It was quite a surprise, frankly, because there's been a lot of work done on the behalf of the district and on the behalf of the community around us. It was very exciting, and I hope that we'll be able to have a tour at some point in time to go actually see this property. Most of us drive by it. I drive by it on a regular basis. It's just before, it's off of Foster Road on 194th or 92nd.
74th.
Yeah, so you drive by it, but oftentimes, in fact, I've never had the opportunity to be on the property, and the restoration efforts that have been made on our behalf over these past years is pretty incredible. So I'd love for us as a board to hear more about it, probably from the executive director, and then possibly go and see the restoration work that has been done on that property.
So you teed that up nicely. As a follow-up, we agreed that we would have a field trip with Daniel Newberry, the executive director, Vice Chair Shields, and Director Southerton and myself. So if there's anyone else interested in attending, let me know, and I'll make sure to notify you once the date is arranged for our field trip. I see Rose is in as well. As a dry run, and because I've never actually been there during my 13 years in the district, Director Southerton and I visited the Foster property yesterday, exploring the roughly 35 acres and talking about what development possibilities may exist in the future. Finally, as a follow-up to the topic of enrollment and class size from the last meeting's report, Director Southerton, Dr. Katsuda, and I met yesterday following the 10-day drop to assess class size data and identified the need for staffing adjustments. We identified a few places where adjustments were warranted, and Director Southerton has since been working with the administrators at the relevant schools accordingly. I will save specifics for now, given that administrators at these respective schools have likely not had the chance yet to communicate relevant changes to their respective staffs, but we were able to add some FTE in places that warranted. At this point, I simply wanted to indicate that we have followed up as per our normal process and have taken action based on updated information. And with that, I invite any questions or comments you might have, and this concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Superintendent Owens. Are there any questions at this time? Please, Vice Chair Shields.
On the priorities that you had shown us, that whole list, OSBA, COSA, who else works in conjunction with these kind of, I know it's COSA, but OSBA does, priorities as well. How is that being shared, or are we early in the game and it hasn't been shared quite yet?
You're muted.
I said some good stuff too. So backing up, I will say that it's very much like you had said, Pam, and we might want to have Stacy Michelson come and speak to us about how that process shapes up and develops. But what I would say from my experience and knowledge of the process is it's like you mentioned, COSA's working with OSBA, our employee unions, OSEA and CEA often around where they have threads of commonality. One thing you didn't see here on this slide was mention of the state school fund advocacy as well, which is obviously a cornerstone of what will happen. And with the governor indicating that that calculation will be revisited, it invites the opportunity to look at some of these other items in a more detailed way that sometimes get covered up because there's so much emphasis and energy that gets spent on the state school fund conversation.
Thank you. Director Andrews?
On the same topic, I was just going to say I would like to make sure we invite Stacy to a meeting because I would like to talk about some of these things in a lot more detail. And I don't want to do one of those what did we do a couple of years ago when we got
The
together
legislator
with,
forum.
yeah, there weren't very many there. I would rather just do maybe some independent lobbying, but I would like to have a little more detail. And I'm sure that will emerge, but it would be nice to form that detail a little bit more with Stacy because I certainly have some ideas about K-12 facilities for one thing, how to fund those and other options. Yeah. I guess I know you haven't said anything about the I mean the K-12 facilities has a huge, I probably shouldn't go into this too much. I just, we have been such beneficiaries off the seismic grants. And of course that's K-12 facilities. And I'd sure like to see a sub thing under there that either doesn't put a cap on the seismic grant for each school or increases the amount from 2.5 million to a different cap that's higher, or, you know, so there's a number of things that I would like to see on this list. Not additional things on this list, but more detail on the things that are on the list.
Yeah, there's quite a bit that back ends each of these topics for sure.
I'm sure. Thank you.
And I did note your interest as well as Chair Solowski to visit the Foster property. So I got that noted as well.
I do think it would be a prime time to get Stacy Michelson to come to one of our work sessions, maybe. And so if we can talk about that when it comes to future agenda items. Well, Vice Chair Shields, go ahead.
Just a quick aside to that, our budget committee members, it would really be nice that they be included in whatever conversation or when that's going to be occurring at the board level, because that's another group of advocates. And the better educated they are about what the concerns and issues are, and specific to us as a district, we want them looped in so that they can be additional advocates. So kind of looking at Director Southerton about that helping us, and our chair, yes, working with our budget committee members as an extra, maybe an extra responsibility for them as well.
Yeah,
or at least an invitation.
Let's we'll add that to our board leadership meeting as we sketch out the agendas and then match calendars with Stacy. It's good to hear that there's interest in her engagement, and it's probably better sooner than later, just given how the legislative session shapes up. And to your point, Director Andrews, I think it'll probably be we'll have her involvement here. You can do your own personal, or we can do some collective district advocacy. And I think that she will also try to resurrect the process that we did a couple of years ago, hopefully tuning it up a little bit so we get more legislative involvement.
Thank you. Following up on your conversation about class size, I'm hopeful that maybe once things get kind of communicated, I'd love to see those numbers a little bit and just see where we were able to get to with class size for folks.
Yeah, it may make sense. Sorry to cut you off. It may make
Please.
sense if I include those changes in my Friday email to the board so that you
Great.
just see, and then you can correlate what you saw in the report, where we made some adjustments. And if there's questions that you have that remain from what you see that didn't maybe look like it got reconciled, you can bring that up to my attention too.
Thank you, Superintendent Owens. Are there other questions? Thank you for a fantastic report, Superintendent Owens. Moving right along, we have some confirmation items. All of those were distributed. Are there any thoughts, anything before we call for a motion?
Let's move to approve the confirmation items as listed in the agenda.
Second,
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
aye.
I,
The ayes have it. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a little bit of a longer break today because when we come, oh no, actually, we will take, let's get, here I am. Sorry, I put this in my path. Let's go ahead and take a break until about 7 o'clock, about 8 minutes. Director Andrews.
Didn't we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting, Rose?
You know what we did, and for some reason I did not have that on my stuff. I apologize. Good catch. Let's go ahead and do that really quick.
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting. I don't have the date right in front of me, but the first September meeting.
Second,
All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I,
The ayes have it. The minutes will be recorded as listed. Now let's take a 7-minute break and come back at 7 o'clock. Thank you, everyone.
And Director Stanley, I noted your interest as well.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. I appreciate your promptness, everyone. We are back in session. So first up on our old business we have is a student recognition recommendation. And I know for those of you that were here at the board meeting last time, we talked about doing things a little bit differently. And instead of having the schools come to us one at a time, doing more of an open student recognition forum. And so we talked about it in board leadership, and I'm going to pass it on over to Superintendent Owens at this point in time.
Great. So thank you, Chair Selesky. What I would say is that what we took away from the discussion was the opportunity to recognize students for accomplishments across the spectrum of activities or athletics that they may be involved in. And so a couple of things here. Number one, and maybe not quite yet, Missy has drawn from some research that she has done with another school district who has done something very similar. And so one thing that we wanted to show you is how they have it laid out. In essence, we don't need to reinvent the wheel on this. There's a little bit of a schematic for how this could be done. But essentially what it would entail is having consultation with each school and saying, what are the clubs or activities or athletics that are happening in your school, and let's make sure that they're automatically invited to be recognized at the board level, and making it so that it isn't invitational, but they have that opportunity to do that, and determining between each school which activities that would be, and also providing an open forum where people can be able to asked to do that, to have that recognition. So we would promote that through our in-district channels, and then they would be able to fill out a form basically that would indicate that they would like to be considered for board recognition at the board level. So Missy, would you be willing to maybe show, I know you might be having a little bit of audio issues. I don't know how that will affect your ability to speak it
Yeah,
through.
I have some audio issues right now, but that's okay. I will go ahead and share my screen just to give you a quick idea of what something like this can look like. And then we can maybe draw from it if that works for you folks. Let me see if I can find it. Bear with me. Okay, I'm hoping you can see my screen. Does that work? Okay, wonderful. So as Superintendent Owens indicated, we don't necessarily need to recreate the wheel if we can draw from some other folks that are doing the same kind of great work. So I was able to do some research and found this district in Cedar Hills Independent School District in Texas that has some guidelines for their student recognition that we can kind of pull from. As you can see down below here, some guidelines that are outlined, and it just kind of lays out some of what they want their scholars, and they actually included staff in this as well. So that might be something we can expand on at some point. But right now, this is really about student recognition. So this is quite in depth, but we can certainly pull some things from this. At the bottom here, you'll see where it has basically a Google form that buildings can go ahead and submit their selection or who they would like to nominate for this scholar and to be recognized by the board. So you can kind of see how it goes down. Oops, having some issues. And it's just a Google form, as you can see. It's something that we can definitely pull from, recreate, and make it really Centennial, which is really what we'd like to do. So I think this is kind of what we were looking at possibly recommending. I know that we could probably work more with board leadership in regards to finessing this a little more, but this gives you an idea of kind of the direction we were looking at. So is that helpful?
What Missy and I talked about was creating some criteria that we think, and with some input, may work best. and then having, as she said, board leadership take a look at it. But before we did any of that, we just wanted to get the take from the board to say, is this on the right track before we take the next steps to kind of put it all together. So thanks for sharing that on the screen, Missy.
Yeah,
I really appreciate the work that you guys have put into this. This is exactly what I think we were looking for. Something where there was a little bit of criteria, and identifying who can initiate the request. I love the idea of including staff recognition. And we'd probably want to have some criteria before we got started on that too. But I just want to continue to shout out all the good work that's being done by kiddos in the district, especially. So I would love to hear at this point any comments from other board members on their thoughts on this, if this kind of fits with what you felt like we were talking with, if there's pieces that are missing, things that you felt like we talked about that would still need to be included that are not represented here. Yeah, Director Harden, I know you weren't at the last meeting, so I'd love to just kind of hear your thoughts on stuff too.
And Director Stanley has a hand raised.
Oh, I see that too. Yes. I called Director Harden first, so we'll go with Director Harden and then Director Stanley.
Yeah, no, I like it. Any platform we can provide the community for celebrating the students, the staff, the community members is great. Would it include community partners of ours?
Great question. It could if we wanted it to.
I think that might be a good idea
Mm-hmm.
to include them as well, for a chance to just celebrate the great work that people around here are doing.
Thank you. Director Stanley?
I have two things. One, in addition to the community partners, I think that I'm assuming, and I'm going to guess and clarify, more than just Sun or Impact Northwest or like, are you more of the community members? But they run a lot of great clubs and programs and could nominate a lot of students. So I think it's important to include them. But I also still would love that piece if we could have just unequivocally our kids recognized at the state level automatically. We don't need a notification form or a nomination form, that they are invited by their board to be recognized by us. They've already put in a ton of time to be able to get to that state recognition level, that I don't feel like we need a nomination form to include them.
Agreed. I think that maybe part of what I think of the nomination form is also the streamlined how we get that information to the board. And so maybe if it is someone's, we're not sure who that would be, but like, how would we know about them being at the state level if they didn't submit a form, right? And so that's just a communication piece, that process piece that we can figure out. But I love it.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be like for the recommendation of acknowledgement. It would be the acknowledgement needs to happen because this happened at the state level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got you. Absolutely. Any other thoughts? As with most things, I think that we have some really good stuff to work with. I would love to start small and focus on students, but asking community partners and teachers and asking all of those people to submit students. And let's give it a month or two and then see about recognizing staff and teachers and other things. Like I really want to get there and build, but I just want to make sure that the process we have is working before we kind of roll it out larger scale. Are there any questions or comments about that? Cool. Thank you so much for your work, Missy. And I look forward to probably sitting down with you and having Director Anderegg make it look all pretty with the Centennial logos and stuff. So more to come. And for Director Harden and those that maybe weren't here or don't remember last time, we had talked about having this be a standing item in the welcome of guests portion, like right in the very beginning. And so having that be a standing thing that can happen. So we will work on getting that put together and hopefully we'll start seeing that soon. Thank you so much. And look at our timing. We're pretty good. Next up, we are going to talk about some board vacancy interviews. I'm not going to talk about them. We're going to do them. And so the process was posted in Board Book. The one thing that we have to figure out is which questions folks want to read. And so you see the questions hopefully in front of you. Is there anyone who wants to claim a question? Shall we assign them? Who wants to read question 1? It will be the same person reading the same question for each of the 4 interviews. Director Harden.
I'll do number 2.
Great.
Just to make a decision.
Excellent. Anybody interested in question number 1? Director Andrews, thank you. Question number 3.
Oh, sure. It's got a lot of words. I'll read it.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Stanley. Vice Chair Shields, I'm going to put you at 4.
That's great. That'll be perfect.
And I will take 5. I'm hoping Director Lynn might jump in here, but
if he doesn't, what will be the procedure?
so if someone is not here to participate in all of the interviews, they can contribute to the conversation, but they will not have a vote.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. Okay, so before we begin, are there any questions for the process for us here? Director Harden.
Would we still need I believe it's 4 votes, 4 or more votes?
Yes.
Even though there's 5 of us?
Yes.
All right. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Chair Solowski, we do have our first interview candidate in the attendees, so I can move him over whenever you're ready.
Fantastic. If there are no further questions, let's go ahead and invite him over. Hi, Jim. Welcome. How do we pronounce your last name? Oh, you're muted still.
How about now?
That's perfect.
Okay. It's Dalgleish.
Dalgleish, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for volunteering. Real quick, so if you're appointed to this position, we really just want to let you know that there will be orientation resources to help support your transition to the role. We have 5 questions for you and you'll have about 10 minutes. Do you have any preliminary questions before we get started?
No, not yet. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Something may pop
All
up.
right, let's jump right in. And we'll start with Director Andrews.
Hello, Jim. Welcome. Thank you for applying for this position.
Of course.
So my question, I think you've probably seen the questions ahead of time, so hopefully it won't be a surprise. Why did you decide to apply for this position? And what skills and or expertise will you bring to the board?
So I think the answer to that, I'll kind of reverse the answer in regards to what skills do I bring? So I was raised in education. My father was an elementary school principal. My mother was an elementary school teacher in the Centennial District, actually. And my wife is currently a teacher in the Centennial District. And so I'm very, very familiar with how schools and districts work. Not necessarily by choice early on, but just by the mere standpoint of being exposed to it incessantly while growing up. In regards to what I bring skill-wise, I think I'm good at working with a team. I like to collaborate. I like to question things. I like to figure out how we can do things better. I think that the idea of trying to identify areas where we're doing well and where we're not doing well are important to the overall health of whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. And in that regard, I think that I look at I guess one of my strengths would be to be able to kind of distill down what we're trying to assess into realistically the root cause or the root issue that we need to address, and not the symptoms, if you will. And then again, like I said, I like to work collaboratively. I enjoy working in teams to see where people's strengths and weaknesses lie, to identify their weaknesses, not as a limitation, but just as something that people can be aware of, and then work to their strengths so that we can collaborate together to become a tighter unit.
Thank you very much. We'll just go ahead, jump on in.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks for your attending tonight.
Sure.
Question number 2, from your research, what is your understanding of a school board's basic duties and responsibilities?
Well, there are a lot of them. The idea of distilling it down to a basic statement, I guess, would be something along the lines of it's the board's responsibility to kind of outline and shepherd the district by setting and creating and adopting policy that is utilized to formulate kind of an overview of how the district needs to be run, and then to provide the support as long as the policies that are instilled in the district are ethical, legal, and fiscally responsible. And then just provide, say, the superintendent with the support that he or she needs to be able to implement those policies. And then for the superintendent to then pass that down to the support and help that the teachers would need to be able to effectively train and teach the students that are under their care. I think another thing too that a board should be responsible for is interaction with the different schools, the teachers, the principals. I think it's really important for people to understand that the board is interested and to show that interest. I know you had a former board member a while back, Ernie Butension, who really made quite an impact with a lot of teachers in the district by being very visible, by asking a lot of questions, and actually visiting a lot of schools. So I think that the idea is you're kind of forming policy that's going to help to develop each student and their ability to think critically in the future, and then also to support the staff that has to teach those students what they need to know in order to become a successful contributing member of society. And again, that's an overview. I understand you hire and fire the superintendent, and there's negotiations and bond measures, and there's a lot of other things to that, but that's just kind of the general overview as I understand it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. My question for you is, the information you previously received outlined commitments of the board through the end of June 2025. To what degree will you be able to participate? Are there any limitations you might experience that may interfere with fully participating on our board?
No, I looked through my calendar for the coming year and everything looks good other than an unforeseeable emergency.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, that was easy. Now you get to go to the more difficult one, I can imagine. What do you believe are the two most critical issues currently facing our school district, and what informs your thinking about that?
Yeah, so you're not wrong, and that's not necessarily an easy one to answer. I think that the reality of it is that there's always going to be good and there's always going to be bad. What informs my thinking is experiences that I've had in the past. To a certain degree, some of the stuff I hear through my wife and her coworkers, things that I read in the news. In regards to, I think that the district actually is doing a really good job. I see a lot of improvements in the infrastructure. I see a lot of communication in regards to receiving input from teachers and administration to see what could be beneficial and what could help. If I had to answer the one thing that I would say, well, you said two, but I'm going to go with one thing at this stage, and that is I downloaded your test results, the state test results from last year. And I think that there is probably room for improvement in that. But what's the reason? You know, where are the shortcomings? Why are we falling short in regards to the testing scores? What is impacting the ability to allow the students to get the education that they need to be able to pass the tests, at least up to the state level? And I think that once you delve into that, I mean, ultimately, from my perspective, that's kind of the role and responsibility of the district, is to make sure that the kids are ready to go out into the world when they graduate high school. And for whatever reason, the results of the tests based on the state result or expectation is lower. So what's the cause of that? And I think that once you delve into trying to understand, and I'm sure you guys have already done that. I mean, I'm coming in this, you know, from a standpoint of not having all of the facts, but I'll just speak to what I do know. And I think that if you do uncover some of the reasonings behind why we're not testing well, things like what's going on in the classroom, what's going on environmentally in the school, in the children's lives, with the family life, what distractions are keeping them from being able to learn, versus are the expectations too stringent? Are they too high? Do they need to be reevaluated? So I think that, you know, you could probably find out a lot in regards to that. I mean, overall, other than testing scores, I have to say, from what I've seen and experienced with the district, I think you guys are actually not doing a terrible job. I think you're being proactive in a lot of ways. I like the fact that you're addressing infrastructure. I like the fact that I just read an article about how you're involving high school students in small groups of discussion. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of positives there. I just think that we just kind of need to look at tightening up the testing and maybe address why that's not as high as it could potentially be. So I mean, I guess that's really all I've got at this point, you know, in regards to what I see as being a problem at the district. Maybe I'm being naive. I don't know. You said two things. Should I have got something else?
Nope, that's great.
Okay.
We'll take it.
Right.
Is there anything else you'd like to add for us today in consideration?
No.
Okay.
I just appreciate your time and the opportunity to at least, you know, throw my hat in the ring.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
So thanks for your time and applying for the board vacancy. We do ask that you refrain from listening to the other interviews. We will be following up once a decision is made. This meeting, so I was curious if you would like us to call you this evening. I'm giving everyone the option of a call after this meeting. I would not make it happen after 10, depending on how long the meeting goes, or it could be tomorrow. So do you have a preference?
No,
No.
not at all.
Right. Well, then I will reach out to you this evening. And then go ahead and please log out of the meeting at this time. Thank you so much, Jim.
Okay, will do. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We now will wait while we pull the other candidate in. Hold on just one second.
I've texted her and haven't heard back quite yet, so we might want to give her a couple minutes.
Text me when you're getting.
She's confirmed she'll be here shortly, and once she logs in, I'll move her over.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That felt like it went pretty smooth. I think that we figured it out at the end, but I don't need to jump in between every question. If the next person just wants to kind of jump in and go, that's perfect. Who's got our knock knock joke? I should have prepared knowing that there was going to be some pauses.
If you look over Paul's shoulder, you see a book of dad jokes.
Oh, look, there she is. Hello and welcome, Kylie. It's nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So my name is Roslowski. I'm the chair of the school board. I want to thank you for volunteering. Let you know that if you're appointed to this position, there will be orientation resources to help you support your transition to the role. We've got 5 questions for you in about 10 minutes. Do you have any preliminary questions before we get started?
No, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and jump right into it then.
Hi, Kylie. Thank you for applying. My question is, I'm hoping you've seen the questions, so none of these will surprise you, but why did you decide to apply for this position? And what skills or expertise will you bring to the board?
Yeah, thank you. I applied for this position because I do really deeply care about our community. I've lived here in Happy Valley in the district for 6 years, and our oldest daughter just started at Pleasant Valley Elementary this year, and our youngest daughter is going to start next year. And so we're going to be part of the school district system for the next 14 years. And so I would really like to be a part of contributing to something that I'm going to take so much from over the next decade and a half, and would love to just start meeting other folks that are also contributing to the experiences that our students and faculty and other community members will have. In addition just to that motivation itself, a lot of my professional skills are going to apply really well to a board position. So in my career, I'm part of a leadership team at a real estate tech company, a nice little startup company there. And so I report to our CEO and I oversee a budget, my own function of $40 million annually. And so I am definitely familiar with what it takes to manage a budget. Excuse me. I set my alarm so that I wouldn't miss this meeting. Look at that. So I'm definitely familiar with managing to a budget. I oversee a team of 40 employees, and in my role, it's Director of Customer Success is what it's called. And so I do need to balance the needs of our customers while really balancing that with our resources and how we can execute that in a really sustainable, scalable manner. So I am a team player. I really value collaboration with people, and especially people who might hold opposing views or have different experiences than me, because I think that oftentimes when you talk with others that have different experiences and views, we can just learn so much. And when you're aligned around the same type of mission and vision, it's really, really easy to get aligned there.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for your time tonight. I'll ask question number 2. From your research, what is your understanding of a school board's basic duties and responsibilities?
Yes. So far, no trick questions. I appreciate that. They're by the book that you shared. So as I understand it, the role of a school board is really to set the standards and the standards of the school system, like by way of policy. So other folks in the schools and in the school district will actually implement and do the day-to-day operations, but the board sets that policy. And it really can be around educational trends and how it fits in with federal and state regulations, budget and resource allocation, including personnel appointments, and education content and scope decisions. That is my understanding of the board role. And to be a productive board member, each individual on the board is going to need to stay informed of those educational trends, and what others are doing and how it applies to our school district locally.
Great. Thank you, Kylie. I get to ask the wordy question that is the easiest one to answer. Okay, here we go. The information you previously received outlined the commitments of the board through the end of June 2025. To what degree will you be able to participate? Are there any limitations you might experience that might interfere with fully participating on our board?
In short, yes, I can fully participate, and I don't foresee any conflicts. I looked at seems like the meeting cadence that you guys have, looking at past meeting minutes, and that won't conflict with my job responsibilities. So I will be able to fully participate. I would also like to say, outside of these meetings too, I'd really look forward to opportunities to participate with school and community events as representative, as a member of the board. I think that is something I'd be most excited about, as well as really being out there and chatting with other members of our community, listening to their needs and bringing that back here to this group to discuss and learn from.
Thank you. She had the wordy one. I have the really short one, but kind of a meaty one, if you will. What are the two most critical issues currently facing our school district, and what informs your thinking?
Yeah, well, I've seen firsthand, especially being on this corner of the school district zoning, the population growth that our community has seen. All the new housing, it's wild and wonderful all at the same time, but all of those kids need to go somewhere and they need to go into the schools. And I recognize that can be a real leading cause of resource constraint in our schools. So I imagine that is one of the most critical issues there is how we keep the classrooms not as crowded, well-resourced, student-teacher ratios. There's a lot that can go into that issue. I also think that, things like just funding in general and safety are always top concerns. But perhaps a more topical example would be what we saw some of the neighboring districts, the Portland district, do recently, create new policies around phone use in schools. I imagine that's a topic that this district is talking about as well. There's a lot of news press, a lot of hot takes on that policy there. So I think that's one of the trends that we're seeing.
Thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to add at this point for your consideration?
No, I just really want to take the opportunity to thank you guys for having me here today. I found this process to be incredibly well organized and very well communicated. And so I'm just thoughtful overall. And if that's any indication of how you all run things on an ongoing basis, I'm super impressed and grateful that you guys are the board that is representing our district.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you again for your time today and applying for the board vacancy. We ask that you refrain from listening to the other interviews. We will be following up once a decision is made. We can call after the meeting, which will be before 10 o'clock or tomorrow morning. Do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference. No, I'm fine with either.
I'll reach out this evening then. Some people, I like to check because some people are like early to bed. So I'll call you this evening. Go ahead and log out of the meeting at this point in time, and you'll hear from me later this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kylie. Missy, at some point, I'm going to probably need you to text me all their numbers.
Yes, I would be happy to. And I know we're running pretty quick. Our next one was scheduled for 8 o'clock. So I've just texted her saying that we're going a bit quicker than we had
We
anticipated. And
are
so
definitely.
I'm hoping she could log in, but just to let you know, she was expecting to start at 8.
Why don't you go ahead and text the other person too and just say, hey, we're running a little bit early if you want to be prepared. Do we want to take a 5-minute bio break really fast for folks? Let's go ahead and do that and take 5 minutes, use the bathroom, take care of yourself, and then we'll come back. I appreciate y'all. Recording in progress. Excellent. Welcome. It's nice to have you here. How do we pronounce your first name?
Sequoia, like the sequoia tree.
Perfect. Excellent. It's so nice to have you here, Sequoia. Thank you for volunteering. Wanted to let you know that if you are appointed to this position, please know that there will be an orientation resources to help support you in your transition to the role. We know there's a lot involved. We have 5 questions for you today, and we'll have about 10 minutes. Do you have any preliminary questions for us?
No.
Great. We'll jump right in.
No.
Sequoia, I have the first question. Why did you decide to apply for the position, and what skills and or expertise will you bring to the board?
I applied because I have 3 young boys that attend Centennial, one in elementary, one in middle school, and one at the high school. And I thought I would be a good fit for providing extra support with the families and the staff and the board. What I bring to the table would be, I've been in the district for over 9 years, so I'm real familiar with families that are in the district already, and I have relationships with them, also with the teachers. So I can be like the bridge. Let's say that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sequoia. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
From your research, what is your understanding of a school board's basic duties and responsibilities?
What I've looked up and researched since applying for the position, I found out that you guys are in charge of budgeting and the goals for the children. I found out that the student achievement you guys are in control of, the community resources. I found out a lot of stuff. I wanted to learn more before I decided to do the application because I needed to know if I would be a good fit for it.
Thank you, Sequoia. My question is really wordy, but pretty short answer. So, I'll do the heavy lift on this one.
Okay.
The information you previously received outlined the commitments of the board through the end of June 2025. To what degree will you be able to participate? Are there any limitations you might experience that may interfere with fully participating on our board?
I don't have any limitations. I do have children, but I'm well equipped to get childcare for them. And the dates, I know how to move around my schedule. So that wouldn't be a problem.
Thank you. I've got the question. It's a little bit more, it's less wordy, but it might take a little bit more time in terms of answering because just the words and the questions here. What are your 2 most critical issues currently facing our school district, and what informs your thinking about that?
Okay, so can I read my notes? I made notes for that question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The first issue I see currently, it's in our district and other districts, and that's diversity. What I mean by that is there's maybe 20% of minorities in each school versus the student ratio is like over half. And I feel because I've been in every grade level that I know some difficulties with children that are minority, feeling comfortable with expressing their feelings to someone that they don't identify with. I know it's a problem because I've heard it. I'm a part of the PTO at Oliver. I'm a part of the PTC at Palbutte. And so these are concerns parents are already voicing. But my question to you guys, with that being said, how can we change it? How can we change the mindsets of minorities to try to apply for the position? So that would be something that I can bring to the table. The B to that is concerns with children with disabilities. I have an autistic son, and I know all the districts are shorthanded. That take that in consideration. I also know different parents that need help with their children and they don't know the research on how to get extra help. And I can fill in that blank because I have got all the resources for my child to be successful in a community of his peers.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us for our consideration this evening?
One more suggestion.
Please.
If in each school there can be a like a comment box for, you know, anonymous comment box for the parents and the staff, so the school board can learn what's going inside the school and with the parents, and then having a parent group to network on their specialties like a community.
I love that. Thank you. I have my notes here too, because you know, let's be real. I want to thank you again for your time today and applying for the board vacancy. We ask that you refrain from listening to the other interviews, and we'll be following up once a decision is made. I can call after this meeting, which will be before 10 o'clock or in the morning. Do you have a preference?
Oh, it doesn't matter. And thank you guys.
Yeah,
I just love. I was at I volunteered at Oliver because I'm on the PTO and I did concessions, so I had to run here.
But we appreciate it. We know those your concession volunteers. Big kudos. It's a lift.
Yes.
So go ahead and log out of this meeting, and I will be in touch a little bit later.
Thank you for considering me. Have a good night.
Thank you, Sequoia. All right.
I have texted our next candidate and he is putting his daughter to bed. So he's going to let us know once he is available. Again, we're running early. He wasn't.
We are running early. Do we want to jump to any future agenda items?
Chair Slawski?
Yes, please.
Question. I just texted Missy because I could not find her name in my text messages. They were so far down. And we're going to be texting with her in terms of the voting process. Is that correct?
So that's a very good question. It really depends. If there is one nomination, so after we're done, we will open the nomination period. Board members will have the opportunity to make their nominations. If there is only one nomination on the table, we will take a roll call vote. If there is more than one nomination, we will have the board members who make the nomination give a little explanation as to why they feel like the candidate they nominated is a good fit. And then we will text Missy and we'll do a We will text her the name of the person. No, wait, no, sorry. I'm double checking my notes here because I know that's not right as I started saying it. So we will text the executive assistant, our vote. Read aloud for the record. If a single nominee receives 4 or more affirmative votes. So I guess maybe I need some clarity here. The voting pattern. When we text you, Missy, will we say, if let's say there's 2 names, would we just text you one of the names with who we're voting for?
Yes, that's correct. My understanding, if there's only one nomination, then we'll do a roll call vote, so no text will be needed. But if there are 2 nominations, then you would go ahead and text me who you would like your vote. That makes sense.
And in the document that we sent out in board book, it does have Missy's phone number in case any of you do still need that. Does that answer your question?
And I'd be happy to put it in the chat if you folks need it, but just let me know.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear and ready for that process.
Superintendent Owens, did you have anything for future business items?
Let's see here. We will have our swearing in of new board member. We will have Stacy Michelson at some point, not necessarily at the next meeting. Hopefully we're ready to go with our student recognitions, provided that we have some to be able to recognize. We have cell phones in schools, which will be one of our priority topics. And we will have our secondary building principals present to be able to help inform that discussion. And that's what I've got.
Fantastic, thank you.
It is interesting just how much the cell phone conversation is in almost everything that's coming through my feeds for educational trends, things of that nature. And to think that just this past spring, when I asked the question, not just to you guys, but I was asking Vance Adams about where was OSBA, if they were thinking about this, and they said, oh no, we're not, it's not even on our radar. And I went, oh my gosh. So the ramping up and how far quickly it's been moving, and the information that's now being provided pro and con, I think is going to be very interesting to inform and help inform us, as well as our own staff, with our principals coming and speaking to us about it. So I'm looking forward to not only discussing it as the national trend, a state trend, but also just how we're beginning to feel about it and what we're hearing about it locally as well.
Thank you.
May I add a future agenda item?
I would love it.
Perhaps not at the next meeting, but I'm hoping sometime this fall is the discussion of a grant writer or a grant administrator, and any analysis that has been or is being conducted about that.
Great, thank you. What else is going on in people's worlds?
So
This might surprise everybody, but I'm in a show or 3. So in November, you can come see me in A Christmas Story, the musical.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, I don't have anything else because I don't have time for anything else. So yeah.
That's fabulous.
Do you guys know when a joke becomes a dad joke?
When it's apparent.
Yes.
Do we still have access to the beautiful signs that Melissa made for homecoming next week?
I will check my garage, but remember I have 7 cats, so there are no promises as to what
That's
my garage
quite all
looks
right.
like. But I did tell Claudia I will make new ones. I have the materials in my class, and my kids love it when I make things with them when they're having their free time. So I will make them. If you, Missy, can give me as soon as possible who will be there. I don't want to make them if you're not coming. Sorry,
Yeah.
again. But
I just wanted to use last year. I mean,
I can loan you all my pom-poms. And my tip from last year is use your apron that dining services gave us to fill your pockets with candy. It's easier than running back and forth to the wagon. These are just pro tips. Pro tips I'm just laying out for you. Very important. I can't be there, so you have to do all of the loud, I'm not going to say obnoxious, but you know what I mean, the things. Yeah.
Rose, will you be able to walk in the parade?
Yeah.
I know Claudia will too. Pam, you won't, correct? Right. And Jess, you're going to be doing
I'll be in the
announcing.
booth.
in the
I'll be
booth.
in the
Okay.
booth. Yeah.
So we're walking. No convertibles.
Listen, I didn't get a car last year, so you are walking. That's all I have to say. You're walking.
I'm fine walking. It'll be fun.
We're walking, we're walking.
Okay,
Jess,
so
I
far,
have a request. We talked about the band that's marching at the homecoming parade.
Mhm.
Last year, there was a lot of music playing at the stadium, and you couldn't hear the band play as they came into the area. So I don't know if you have responsibility or have the on-off switch or the volume switch for the music that's being broadcast at the stadium, but it would be nice if that got turned down when the bands come in.
I can I'll talk through it with Dante, and the other people at the stadium, because the music that is playing during that time is the football team's hype music to get ready for the game. And last year there has been a coaching change, so the current coaching regime may be more receptive to their music being to understanding of the homecoming event.
Got it. Good. Thank you.
Excellent. This is great. Who else has a joke?
Mr. Miller, is there anything from the high school that you think that we should know?
I was just thinking of all the good stuff going on at the high school. We are just starting our clubs, and homecoming week. As you know, and I'll send it out, we have the dress up days each day. So like Tuesdays, anything from but a backpack. Oh, and then for homecoming, the theme is USA. So if you are marching or in the stadium, anything, USA on that Friday would be super cool. Tailgate is going to be bigger than it ever was.
Awesome.
And so it's expanding even more, and we're super excited to have the band and all the other stuff going on. So just lots of fun stuff with homecoming.
I'm so excited. One of the kids that I work with in my professional life is one of the cheerleaders, and she's a freshman this year, and she was asking me all about like the parade and what it was about, and kids are getting really excited about it. I do have a question for you, Mr. Miller. A while back there was a spirit day that was Minion out. And my kids could not quite explain to me. They're like, "Well, you just dressed like a minion." So I'm really curious how that turned out. Like, do people just wear yellow shirts? Is it full on costumes? Like, what is a minion out in the high school?
I was going to actually pull up some of the pictures. If you haven't seen it, it was super awesome. So yes, wearing yellow, but also the goggles. So
Okay.
there was everybody in the hair, necklace with a little G on it, which is the minion symbol. And now they have those costumes. So I've already been told we're going to have several minion days. And then I don't know if you actually saw the cheerleaders, but they all got the minion costumes. And so they were doing their cheer. In fact, let me pull it up. I could play one of the cheers. It was super
That
cool.
would be great. I was told it's only for kids. So I was getting ready to go to the game. I was like, so what's this minion out? Oh, it's only for kids. Oh, kids, you don't know my costume game.
No, it's for anybody.
I
In
know.
fact, if you stop by, our students would love to put face paint on you.
Oh, great.
Yes, and so if you come to the game and you want to be hooked up,
I
I
love
can
it.
definitely hook you up. So
Excellent.
let's go ahead and look at one of the cheer. So that was the fight song. As you can see, all the cheerleaders were wearing the costumes. It was just a fun experience.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. All right. So, oh, we didn't have him set until like 8:15, did we? That's cool.
He's hoping he can get done early. He'll let me know.
No worries. No worries.
Can I say that it is nice to have such enthusiastic applicants for the board? Just of the three that we've seen, and I'm just going to assume that this next person's going to be very similar. Just the uniqueness that each of these people can offer and bring. We're very lucky to have individuals like this consider this type of a position and taking on the role of a board. So I'm impressed with that, and hopeful that whoever gets chosen, the others will continue to be, wanting to be active or find a role, or we can help them find a role that to participate, because just great to see that kind of expertise or enthusiasm that each of the three that we've talked to tonight exhibited.
Yeah, that will definitely come up when I talk with folks who are not selected for the position. I'll let them know that there's some other opportunities. We'd love to see them. You know, I don't know if there's any openings on the budget committee, but that's always something to look forward to. Is there other things that I should share?
We had the conversation at the last meeting, and I can't remember, there was some hesitation about it, but I don't think it's too early to start telling people that there are going to be some vacancies, permanent vacancies on the board.
Yeah.
Because, they start filing in January. So that's only 3 months away. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And having people show up and to these meetings, as well as we have when we start bringing in people to talk about legislative priorities, etc. The more people that we can have talking about the needs of our district in particular, but the needs at the state level is critical. And these people obviously have a voice that should be shared and an opinion that should be shared about how the state can be more responsive to what our needs are at the district level. Can we talk more about the Mitchell Creek? I didn't want to take up too much time on that.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, if we're just waiting, and James, chime in here. It was surprising what we found out about that property that we've owned for how long? I don't even know how long we've owned it. But the changes that have happened since the changes started in 2016, 15, 16, just as we started that first bond effort that, that one didn't go, but that's when they were hearing about the possibility of using that property. And then the watershed became interested in looking at what was going on. But I will tell you, when we're sitting there and listening to the kind of the accolades to our district for the cooperative efforts that were being made, and us not knowing about it, that felt a little weird, one. And two, the other thing that really crossed my mind immediately was, oh, this sounds wonderful. And yet, what will be the impact and what we can build? Because you need so many acres for an elementary school, so many acres for a middle school, and so many acres for a high school, if we were to consider any one of those buildings. And in the 2016 bond conversation, I remember it being mentioned, that property may not even be able to support like a high school because, again, of the requirements. And now with this new improvements, you've improved an area that's now going to have ecological impact. And will that have a blowback in maybe positive and or negative way on what we can do in the future? So having our opportunity to have those conversations early on with the watershed will inform us about that, what might be coming our way. And in preparation, this board should be knowledgeable about, and our administrators knowledgeable about, what could be done. We shouldn't be talking about property that cannot sustain a high school or a middle school, and we better hope that it can sustain at least an elementary school. So those are my impressions, other than the fact that, steelhead and trout and other things are coming up the stream now that have been absent all of these years. That's all positive, but how does it impact us as a district as it relates to property we own that we wanted to develop? No, I don't know, James, whatever else. It was funny because I'm looking at James like, what's going on? And we're like, what is going on here? Anyway, interesting moment as we were sitting there learning all about ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe Paul will want to weigh in on some of what he knows about the property, not to put him on the spot, but what I would add to what you're saying, unless you already just spoke to it, is that part of their interest in Mitchell Creek is the fact that it's a tributary to Johnson Creek, and so the health of Mitchell Creek then contributes to the health of Johnson Creek as well. And with some of the development that had happened on that property previously, it had kind of dammed up. I know that there's better terminology for it, some of Mitchell Creek, so that on, one side of the property, it was 25 degrees hotter in the water than the other side, and had created basically a pond. So it was obstructing the ability for wildlife to be able to make it up that area. And so since they've done that restoration, Pam, correct me if I'm mistaken, they've had detected traces of salmon and steelhead making their way back up the creek, whereas there wasn't that before. Pam, what would you add to what I just said, or correct?
I mean, that the only other thing is that came up, and Director Southerton, maybe you can speak to this already. They mentioned that there was 2 sets of keys, one for the district, one for them, because they have been coming in and working on the property. Yay, that sounded great. Until he said, and yet I'm starting to see construction materials being put into that property. Who else has a key? And we went, don't know. We'll talk to Director Southerton about it. I know we oftentimes call you and say, hey, there's stuff that's been, people deposit things along the side of the road right there by that property, and we keep up on that. But what are we doing to keep up on if there are things that are not being placed there that should not be placed there by people who do not have permission to place them there? What are we doing about it?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So, as Superintendent Owens said earlier tonight, he and I toured the property yesterday, and we had the opportunity to kind of take a look and see. We did not observe any kind of garbage or other debris that had been dumped, which has historically been the issue, specifically on the front edge of 172 and on Foster Road. And so we regularly monitor that. There is some debris that we brought in from some fallen trees over the winter storm and other things like that. There's some concrete that I'm unaware of the origin or how long the duration that it's been there. So I need to connect with our facilities department and see if we can figure out has that been there since, we purchased the property, or is that a recent kind of breaking up of concrete and asphalt that I observed there? Yeah, it's an ongoing issue that you encounter all around Portland with properties that are, not occupied, that people will break into and people will try and, either camp there or dump there or other things. So it's an ongoing part of our regular maintenance of district grounds is touring that property and maintaining it. So from garbage and debris. I do have a couple of pictures I can kind of show what the very rudimentary kind of what the property looked like when they got started with the old track that the previous owners had, and then just a Google aerial view of the property now, if anybody would kind of like to see maybe what they were referring to. Missy, I'm not sure if I could share my screen. Looks like I can.
You can, yeah, Paul.
Great. So this is kind of an overlay of the property before, and you can see if you can follow my cursor, this is Foster Road, and then at the corner, this is 172. Further down is where the Mr. Tree property begins further south. So this property in red, outlined in red, is the property that we're speaking of. And you can see there's two driveways in, and you can see very clearly the oval track that the previous owners had put there, and overlaid is the wetlands. So blue is where the stream typically runs, and then the yellow is where you have the wetlands and kind of the further bounds and boundaries of Mill Creek. So different requirements will require certain setbacks from the creek before construction can happen or other activities. And so this would inform any future development. The district is operating under the assumption that, of the roughly 26 to 27 acres that the property encompasses, up to potentially 22 acres would be developable. So that would be potentially enough for an elementary school or K through 8 school or middle school, likely 2-story, which you see very often now with building, so that you could have enough out property for various fields. Typically, a high school would encompass roughly 40 acres. A modern high school would be 40 acres. So, unless you did what they did in Portland recently, which is, I think, a 5-story high school, you probably wouldn't necessarily have the room to do all your sports fields and things like that. So, and then this is just a current overview from Google Earth, so a recent satellite. And you can still see some of the remnants of, what was there, but now they've rehabilitated the land, and the creek runs through it now. So kind of recaptured the native species, taken out the invasive non-native species, and really supported that. And again, this is, just an aerial. I don't have a date on it from Google Earth, so it may be further improved at this point in time. Superintendent Owens and I toured it yesterday, and we could clearly see where Mitchell Creek would run during the rainy season. There wasn't much water at this point in time. But there were no impediments to it. It was clear. It was able to function as it probably originally did many years ago, before it was blocked by the dirt bike track, I believe is what that was previously. So
Thank you very much, Director Southerton, and Superintendent Owens and Vice Chair Shields. It looks like our candidate is in there, so we'll go ahead and have you bring him over, Missy. Hello and welcome, William.
Oop, there I am. Hello, good evening.
Hi. Thank you so much for volunteering. We have about 5 questions for you, and you'll have about 10 minutes. Also want to let you know that if you're appointed to this position, that there will be orientation resources to help support your transition to the role. We know it's a lot. But before we jump in, do you have any preliminary questions?
No, I don't think so. Missy's been great about communicating beforehand, and I think a lot of my questions are, well, what happens after? And
Yeah.
but let's not put the cart before the horse, so to speak, right? And go
Excellent.
through this first. So
Cool.
yeah.
We will jump right into the questions. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hi, William. Thank you for being here this evening and thank you for volunteering. I have the first question. Why did you decide to apply for this position and what skills and or expertise will you bring to the board?
Thank you. First, I just want to say good evening to everybody and really appreciate you taking time to set this up for everybody. I know having a fully functioning board, regardless of what it applies to, is a very important endeavor and allows uh, it allows organizations to kind of do what they're supposed to do when they're working at full power. So I appreciate everybody's time here tonight. It relates to, also a little bit about me as well. I know I filled out an application, but I'm originally from Chicago. Oregonian for about 5 years now. My wife grew up just over the river in Vancouver. We have a kindergartner just started at Pleasant Valley, and then also have a daughter who's 3 years old, and we've been in the district a little under 2 years now. So I've always wanted to make an impact no matter where I was, and my big community organizer heart I get from my grandmother, I think, is on full display on something when I do this, and as well as far as what specific abilities and skills, I think it's really a skill set that's done me well my entire life, and that's being a people person, and that's having a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen to people. It's being operationally minded, whether I was working for the mayor in San Francisco or the mayor in DC as a community liaison and as a government affairs liaison, knowing that there are always multiple actors and people and stakeholders involved, and being a consensus builder has always been really good at, and it kind of parlayed some of that experience into operating restaurants for about 15 years. And as the general manager, you have direct oversight over budgeting, labor, and really have to have kind of a big picture view with the ability to see the small steps to achieve the larger picture. So I think it's kind of that, again, that operationally minded thinking that I can bring to the table, critical thinking skills and critical analysis. And then I took all of that that I've done before and turned it into a real estate career about 4 years ago. And now I have a small team of 3, and it's no different talking to clients now. Like I was, when I had, a large staff with restaurants or large staffs that are in government and campaign positions, a couple decades ago, is that I'm a big eye on the disc profile, if you know your disc profiles, and so I've got that large personality, and I like to be at the front of the room, and I like to lead, and I like to have important conversations, and so I hope it's my thoughtfulness and my drive to not just for myself to succeed, for others around me to succeed. And I think that's what I really find attractive about this position, is that, well, I actually get to play a direct role in shaping the hearts and minds of our kids, mine as well, and the other 5,700, that are in our school district. So that would be a little bit about why I wanted to apply for this and what I bring to the table.
Great. Thank you for again for coming tonight. Question number 2, from your research, what is your understanding of a school board's basic duties and responsibilities?
Yeah, our basic responsibilities and duties is to work closely with the superintendent's office and to kind of manage the affairs of the school district. And that means collaborative governance. That means setting policy, implementing the policy, following through, measuring the progress on these goals, tracking progress on those things. And it's really kind of like it's a holistic approach. It's taking and looking at things from every angle, and listening to the experts in the field and really understanding the ins and outs of it. And so it kind of gets back to that collaborative governance aspect, and thinking that, we're in this together and we really do need to approach it from that. So that would be my understanding of the basics and our responsibilities, and it's to really, put the kids first and just make sure that we always keep that top of mind when we're doing, because it's never about us, it's about them. And I think it takes a certain type of person to disassociate any preconceived notions we might have, or our opinions, and really kind of look at what's going to better everybody else around us, specifically, the kids in our charge.
Great, thank you, Will. Question 3. The information you previously received outlined the commitments of the board through the end of June 2025. To what degree will you be able to participate? Are there any limitations you might experience that may interfere with fully participating on the board?
Great. I love that you have all that information out on the website, and part of preparing for submitting an application was making sure I talked to my wife about it too, and us to look at our collective calendar and making sure that there's so far not any dates that are conflict, and if there are things that we need to move around in our care schedules for after work and whatnot like that, we will do that. I think I saw someone there too that can expect to dedicate 5 hours a week to the work of the board, if you will, outside of having our board meetings. And you probably noticed on my application that I currently serve in a few different civic engagement roles, and I do plan on paring that back if appointed, so that I do actually have that time available. I would step down from my political affairs position with the Oregon Realtors on the state level, and I would step down as HOA president as well, so that I could make this and my service on Habitat for Humanity my two main civic engagement activities.
Thank you for that. I'm the one that gets the maybe more difficult or detailed type of question, maybe. We'll see. So the question reads, what are two most critical issues currently facing our school district, and what informs your thinking of that?
Yeah. No softballs tonight, right? I like it. I like it. Gosh, when I was kind of going through things, it's like, is it two? Is it three? I mean, can I add more? I think, I would make 1A and 1B probably funding and staffing. It seems in conversations with the principal and conversations with PTA members as well as other parents, our classrooms are robust. And it's great to see a lot of students attending, and attendance issues were a thing right with the pandemic, and we're still coming out of some of that, right, and recovering from some of that. And I think it ties back to staffing and funding issues. But but listening to the principal say, we are a full school, but we are bursting almost at the seams a little bit, and some concern from parents talking to them at PTA or at the back to school night. They're like, yeah, my son or daughter's class has this many students now, and I hope it continues to get the same level of education that they've been getting here. And I'm one of those people that just goes up to people and introduces themselves and say hi, right? And so I made that, regardless of applying for this, I made that a purpose because I wanted to get to know people and other families that were at the school, because I have a kindergartner, and then his daughter, or his younger sister, will eventually follow in a couple years. And so kind of we're committed for long term in it, and I wanted to make sure that we made the right decision. And but I think there are probably some of those issues, and so talking to parents helps inform that position. Talking to PTA as well, like there's some grants, I guess, that the PTA has that haven't been fully utilized by teachers for one reason or another. So I think that there's, maybe some disconnect there. And that might have to do with the revolving door of staffing a little bit too, is that you just don't know who could be that go-to bridge if it were for that. And then, so I would say that's 1A and 1B for me, and then 2A and 2B. And so this is my way to make it a little bit more robust in the issues I see. But one thing I know that's really important for us in our household is safety of technology these days. When I was in junior high, the internet was very new. Also, I'll date myself that way. But I was in a classroom, a project. I was in a hybrid classroom or an experimental classroom in junior high as my homeroom. It was called Project Homeroom, I believe is what it was called. And we were given copies of Prodigy, not AOL, Prodigy, to take home and to become comfortable with doing homework assignments and emailing them, right? This is back in junior high for me. And it's mind-boggling now that my 5-year-old says, Dada, can you go text so and so's parents so we can have a play date? And I was like, part of me is like, oh wow, you know what technology is. Part of me is like, oh my God, you know what a text message is. Like, what's happening here? And so obviously, this day and age, everything and everybody is online, and we can't ignore that factor, right? And you see the talk amongst high schools and how to deal with cell phones in classrooms and things like that. And hopefully, my kindergartner is not dealing with those issues at all. But what, we know there are a lot of bad actors out there, and we know that electronic communications are very susceptible to, hacking and bad stuff like that. So, one, we need to embrace technology, and two, we need to do it in a safe way. And it needs to be introduced, I think, in our classrooms because my 5-year-old, and I'm sure other 5-year-olds are well aware of what it is, and there's just no getting around it. So, and again, so I think mostly informing that would probably be us in our own household and the way we want to embrace technology, but also make sure it's done safely and then how it's also being introduced in schools. And there's plenty of chatter, I think, out there about the role, the correct role of technology in our classrooms today.
That's very complete. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add for our consideration this evening?
No, I'm just super excited for the opportunity. And I guess I said, no, I don't want to add anything. Yes, I guess just a few closing remarks, but I'm really excited for the opportunity. I think I mentioned I just like to have an impact on everything that I do. And I see this as a great reintroduction. I've kind of meandered a little bit from public service early on, and I always knew I'd kind of find my way back, so to speak. And this opportunity just kind of presented itself, and and everything happens for a reason. I'm of the mind and thinking. So, I'm grateful for the opportunity to meet with you all here for even just a handful of minutes. And I hope that we get a chance to do good work together. If appointed, I am in it for the long haul and would plan to run publicly to retain my seats. It's not just a dip my toe in and see what happens. And because I do understand the seriousness and the gravity of this, and but it's something I look forward to. I guess I don't run away from challenges. I embrace them and I run towards them. And I want when a problem arises, I want to solve it. I don't want to dwell on why it's a problem. Right. So I would say that's it. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Everything. Is there anything else I can tell you at the moment? Well,
No, we just want to really thank you for your time. It's really we know board work is really important, so taking it seriously and applying for the vacancy. We ask, well, at this point, there actually are no other interviews, so we'll be following up once a decision is made.
Okay.
I will, if you're comfortable with me reaching out this evening after the meeting, I can give you a call one way or the other. If you prefer me wait till the morning, I can wait till the morning too.
I guess it just depends on timing.
Yes. Is 10 like 10 is my okay, that's too late.
Let's connect in the morning just in case it does. I don't know how much more we have on tonight's agenda, so let's do it in the morning if that's
Excellent.
okay.
I will be happy to do that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Thanks so much. Have a good night, everyone.
Well, those were some great interviews. Oh yes, I still have more to do. Turn the page of my notes. Nominations. Are there any, nominations at this point? Is there any discussion that people want to have or questions? Do we want to kind of push right through? How are people feeling?
I'd love the opportunity to unmic and then just if there's questions as you just asked that we have an opportunity to ask them of you or ask them of each other. I think it's a good thing for us to be able to just kind of discuss.
Great.
As a group.
I liked all the candidates. Just to, I have in mind when we go through the nomination period, but, just overall, I liked all 4 candidates. I would like to see more candidates from the south end of the district getting involved, because it seems that they're more on the north or on the north end of the district more involved, because it seems like a lot of the candidates are coming from the south end. But that's just me being picky and, utopia. But I liked all 4, and I think all of them, whether it's on the board or not, all have a role in the Centennial family. And I hope that they can all remain engaged. And I think it's important to, to the 3 that aren't appointed, to definitely convey that, don't let your interest stop because you're not on the board.
Who's going next?
I was really energized that 3 of the candidates have children in school, and it seems that all 3 of them will be engaged with the school for many years to come.
Okay, I'll say something. I love that we have 4 to choose from, which is great. I think they all have a different sort of vibe and take on what the role of a board member will be, in varying different degrees. And what they would bring to the table is a huge range. I do agree with Jess that it would be nice to have some more diverse representation. Our district is very diverse, and a lot of our representation comes from one area. So that would be nice to keep in our minds, just as a collective sort of body. I do think it came across that some of the candidates feel like the board position is more of a liaison with teachers and parents than it typically runs as. So that could be something worth looking at educating our community about as well, or shifting our practice. But there's some sort of disconnect in how I think the 4 different people see the board position, in my opinion.
I guess I'll go next. Again, appreciate everyone that has applied. Wonderful group. I like some of the skill sets. When I think about where we're going as a district and what the next challenges are going to be, and I apologize up front. I am looking down the road in terms of the next bond, because I've been through those couple of those campaigns, and skill sets that are going to be able to involve our community in those discussions as we talk about our facility needs, getting out there and interfacing not only with our parents, but our community partners, and then just our community in general, because frankly, we pass bonds because we don't get just engage with children and parents in the schools, but we have to engage with the entirety of our district. And we know that there's some dissonance between our southern end of our district and our northern end of our district. But the fact of the matter is the growth is going to be happening here on the southern end of our district. And so that might be where our engagement is at this point in time, as well as any of our properties that are going to be, that we could possibly use to expand if we ever made the decision to build. So those are things that are kind of informing me. And Rose, if you're ready for nominations, I'm ready to start that process.
Thank you very much. Forgive me as I'm going and eating some dinner. Let's go ahead and open nominations.
I would like to nominate William and help me with the pronunciation of his last name, Morin.
Mooring, maybe?
Morin.
Did not ask. Are there any other nominations? Are there any nominations? I have to ask 3 times. It's in the rules.
It's in the rules.
I would like to nominate Sequoia Green. Are there any other nominations? I think that's 4 times. I mean, I think I'm pretty good. Vice Chair Shields, do you want to speak to your nomination and then I can speak to mine?
Yes, thank you. I just appreciate the wealth of experience that William brings from his previous experiences from restaurant owning, which talks to about careers and what he knows about those types of industries, to real estate, which of course we just were talking about previously. The fact again that there are young children in the district that he would be representing. We will have a board position open for Zone 3, which is that zone. He was the only one that said, I'm plan on running. This isn't just something I want to do just for, to check it out. He actually is going to be running for a position. So in those ways, and his previous government experience as well with, let's face it, an understanding of bureaucracy, it's hard enough on any one of us, but somebody who's already kind of lived it has a leg up, if you will. So for those reasons, I felt really comfortable with having him as an addition to the board, as well as balancing some of the male and the female board members, to be really honest about it.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will speak to Sequoia. I think that there are a couple of things that were unique about her. And I mean, I will name the elephant in the room, the diversity. It would be nice to have on the board. I like that she has 3 children at different levels. She has a lot of experience in the different levels of schools. And her experience both on PTO and PTC, like she's involved, she's in there, she wants to be helping. And I think that she also, knowing where she said her kids went to school, she does live in the north end of the district. And so that also brings someone from, the north side of the district. So at this point, there are 2 candidates. I'm just going to confirm my notes here, but I believe we will just be texting a name to Missy. Missy will read out the names. So we'll submit them to Missy via text and they'll be read aloud for the record. When read, the executive assistant will state the board member by name and the nominee's name who received their vote. If a single nominee receives 4 or more affirmative votes, the nominee will be appointed to the vacant position. If no single nominee receives 4 votes, then the nomination process will be repeated. When nominating an applicant, the board member will speak to the strengths of that individual. We will complete this process until a single nominee applicant receives 4 affirmative votes. Once a 4-vote majority is achieved, I will ask for a motion to appoint them to the Centennial School Board of Directors, position 6 at large. We will vote on the motion and the candidate will be sworn in at the beginning of the October 9th meeting. Are there any questions?
I have one question.
Please.
Could you, Missy, or somebody who has the names in front of them, type the correct spelling of both names into the chat so that when we send the vote we're at least respectfully spelling everything correctly? Please.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you.
I got a text from Director Lynn that he's waiting to be admitted into the panel. I believe he is Centennial Community Association Portland.
Oh, gotcha. So at this point, let's go ahead and everybody text Missy a name.
Well, I apologize for my misspelling names, but I don't see anything in the text. So I'll just
Oh.
send what I am guessing.
Oh, Missy, you direct messaged me the names.
Oh, sorry, Melissa.
You got it? Okay.
Missy, let us know when you have received all the votes.
I am waiting for one more. I have received all votes. So
Great.
would you like me to just go ahead and read?
Please.
Wonderful. Director Hardin, Vice Chair Shields, and Director Stanley voted for William Mooring. I believe it's pronounced that way. Chair Solowski and Director Andrews voted for Sequoia Green. So we're 3-2.
Okay. Let's go through this again. Opening, please, Melissa.
Can other people speak to why they chose candidates, or is it just the people that nominated?
No, I would love it. Like, if we want to take a minute and speak now before we do it,
Okay, well, may I say something?
Please.
So I originally wanted to vote for Sequoia, and I changed my vote, and I don't change my vote often, but I'm going to share why I changed my vote. We've had kind of revolving board seats open and close, and people leave, and I guess what shifted my thinking was Vice Director Shields' point on William wants to stay, and it's intentional about staying. And I hadn't considered that before, but as we've gone through appointee and people leaving the board, I just really would love some permanence and building. And I do not think Sequoia or anybody else would do a bad job, but that particular intentionality of wanting to build something and commit to it is what shifted my thinking. So that's my 2 cents.
I really appreciate you putting that out there. Would anybody else have anything to share?
I'll share something. So with William, my thought was he has a skill set that we don't currently really have on the board. Just some expertise in like Director Shields kind of spoke to the real estate background, the restaurants. Like it seems like he's been at a lot of different levels as well as public service, and the board positions kind of bringing them back around to it. And that, the longevity piece was a big one for me too, that he would like to stick around and is already planning to re-up for the position or a board position. And both of those things. And, like going someone who is willing to put themselves out there, like when we are going for a bond, which we will be in a few years, is pretty interesting. Someone who's like already willing and has, sees themselves in leadership positions was also something that I don't know that I don't see a lot of that with our current board. Nothing against us. We all have different skill sets, but I just see that those skills are something that aren't exactly a strength on our board right now. And I think it would help us out.
I'll add one more thing. We've all applied for jobs. All of us have been out there looking for jobs over periods of time. What is the thing that they always tell you? Ask for the position. If you're going to go out and go for it, then ask for the position. Or I see you, David, and it's like, ask for the vote, right? I mean, you need to say, this is the reason why I'm out here and I'm asking for the support. And that's what I feel he did a good job articulating. And then he asked for it, for the position. So again, for those reasons, I'm confident in my nomination.
Director Lynn, I'd love to invite you to speak. I know you didn't get to see the interviews, but if you've got anything to share.
Well, I'm kind of taking in everybody's comments. I'm weighing them. It's not an easy decision. I think I was leaning towards, absent the interviews. And again, I'm very sorry I couldn't make it because of a community forum. I'm leaning on green. I'm leaning towards green. But again, I'm taking in everybody's input in terms of choosing between two. And I abstained from the first vote because for missing the interviews. So again, apologies.
No, I think that's we had talked about that probably being the best situation. And the school board or the school, that is what the school district does. If there is somebody that misses one of the interviews, they don't get a vote in it. So at this point, do we have any nominations?
I nominate William Meringue.
Do we have any nomination? Do we have any nomination? I would like to nominate Sequoia Green, which gives us 2. Let's go ahead and text Missy and see if we can't get anything different.
Okay, I think I've received everyone's vote. If you'd like them read for the record.
I would please read them for the record.
Wonderful. So for William Mooring, Vice Chair Shields, Director Andrews, Director Stanley, and Director Hardin. And for Sequoia Green is Chair Solowski.
We have 4 votes.
We have 4 votes.
We have a new board member. So, and of course, it's the one that didn't want me to call him tonight. So now I just get to make a bunch of phone calls. Thank you very much. I appreciate how seriously you all take this. I know that it's not easy. We all know it's not easy, and now William is gonna know it too. Anything, let's see here. go back to my agenda. I really feel like we went through everything in that time that we had, but I will open anything for the good of the order at this point in time. Sweet. Meeting is adjourned, 8:51 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
Good to see y'all.
Night,
Missy, do
everybody.
you want to stay on for just 1 second? So I will call the candidates. Oh,
Hey, hang on a second real quick. I'm gonna
make
just,
sure we're not streaming.
yeah, and make sure everybody's off that needs to be off. So, okay, great. I think we're
Hold
good.
on, I'm looking for my end of meeting.
Oh, you're fine.
You're fine, Pam. You can stay on. I just,
Yeah,
I was worried about the attendees and making sure we weren't.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Rose, I feel you about what you're, I
Yeah.
totally get it.